schedule for the rest of the term. So I completely forgot about spring break. Does anyone know when spring break is?
No.
Nope. It is, it's very easy to get confused if you look at the calendar, the Gwinnett Tech calendar, because for whatever reason, there's like the E online campus, or the, whatever, the E campus, I don't know if I got my terminology right. I don't know if anybody's part of the E campus or not, but their spring break begins the last week of March, and that week bridges the last few days of March and the first few days of April. And so I fell into the trap, and I thought, okay, that's our spring break. Why would they have two spring breaks, right? But our spring break, because we're in class, is the first full week of April. So we will not be meeting that first full week of April, and that's on or about the, I should have my calendar out handy, so that's like the, roughly the 5th or 6th of April, whatever that first full week is, we will not be meeting. So I'm sure it'll come to mind, I'll remind, we're not meeting next week. So that instead of giving us, this is the dead midpoint of the class, having 8 to go, we've had 8 previous 7 to go. So we'll meet 7 more times. We will not be having the final exam, as you know, so that's gonna make our last class, our last meeting, the last week, during the last week of April. So, and then for those who have finals, you dedicate your time to studying for finals. So that's my confession. So we are actually sort of over the hump. So yay, milestone, right? So there are a few things I want to do today, and I know this is going to be easy. So it's sort of hard for me to try to, at least I think it's going to be really easy. There are a handful of chapters, 4 chapters I want to go over, and we'll have a quiz next week on it, and I'll post stuff in the lessons or somewhere for practice sets, because I honestly, I really think it's that easy. I can just dedicate 15-20 minutes to each topic, and it's going to be, I hope, that easy for you. So nonetheless, we'll have practice sets out there for you to do. So of late, actually, I tell you, I mean, I've been putting those things out in Excel, which I tend to like, but I think I'm gonna kind of make a transition, because as I was, I gave one of my classes a test yesterday, and I was just sort of doing my little homework, and it was like, well, can you upload Excel into Blackboard? Okay, and I found a little video, very easy to do. So I'm gonna start taking those spreadsheet things that I've been laying out. I'm just gonna ram them into Blackboard. Maybe like true false kind of questions, or you can do multiple choice too, but nonetheless. So I think that's a big milestone. So I think that they're probably honestly easy for you all to use. It gives you, as good feedback, but I think it probably delivers a little more efficiently. So anyway, it'll be out there. My test bank that I keep building on. So,
what's today's lesson going to be about?
We're going to cover 4 things, and maybe losing train of thought, but that's okay. Announcements. These are the ones I want to go over. I mean, again, 7, 15, 18, and 19. These are, again, I think going to be easy. The things where we run into trouble, all my classes run into trouble with, the compound sentences, run-ons, and fragments. I mean, pronouns, I think we know those, but I'm going to just hammer through them, or power through them, hammer through them. I'm thinking of my bathroom that I'm hammering away at. So I'm going to run through these, and if time allows, what I want to do is just talk a little bit about some of the bigger ticket assignments that I mentioned last time around. So if time allows, we'll do that. Okie dokie. Yes.
Where are you at on Blackboard? I went to lessons.
Oh, this is the announcements.
Go to announcements?
Well, you don't have to go here. I'm just putting it up here because this is just what sort of my recap of last week and what we're going to look forward to. So a week from, well, I said March 9th, but whatever is a week from today will be the 10th. We're going to have a test. So these items 7, 15, 18, and 19. So I just want to run into the book. There are PowerPoints, but they're not handy, and I don't think they're that I just wanna run through a few things here. So, So, out of curiosity, how easy do we think pronouns are? Snore, I mean, you know, what's a pronoun? Maybe not so easy. I think it's one of those things, you know it when you see it. So I'm gonna just pop open to number 7. Pronouns. Okay, why did they choose this as a first page? Give me a break. Okay, identify and write pronouns. So I'm gonna go to the next one. So what is a pronoun? Antecedent agreement. Yeah, I'm sure that didn't come to mind. I wouldn't have come to mind either if I were asked that same question. So you're replacing, a pronoun is, the replacement of a noun, right? I think that's where it's gonna hit home. So you got the nutritionist, right, or it's our subject, and then all of a sudden it's a she, and we're using she and her, to replace the nutritionist. It's the antecedent, right? So she and her, the antecedent that comes before, right? So it's one of these words, again, like farmer is another one, it's plural, and we talk about they, so we have to have the subject-verb agreement, or the agreement. So obviously farmer is plural, they plural, right? If it was the farmer and it was a male, you would be saying he, right? It's one of these things, again, I think when you see it, they've got to agree. And they also tell you nothing, really. I mean, if I just said he wants better prices for crops, you'd have no idea what I'm talking about, right? Or rather, you would know who the he is, let's just say, right? So anyway, just sort of takes the place. So the kind of quiz-ish thing we're gonna have about this is making sure we're choosing the right pronoun, it's replacing the right subject. If it's a she, if the nutritionist in this case was a she, we're gonna use the she, her, so we have agreement there. Obviously, like I just mentioned with the plurals, come in. So, is this too easy? Be honest, because if it is, we can power through some of these things. Otherwise, I can spend some more time talking about it. Yes, no, power through. Okay, whatever you're good with. There will be plenty of practice sets, to help y'all work on this. Okay.
Where is this in lessons? Are we in lessons?
This is in the book. Yeah, so if you want to crack the book open, go to page 118. So here what they want you to do is to underline the antecedent, right? They're telling you the they, right, in this first one. Who is the they they're talking about? So read the sentence. The antecedent, the one that comes before.
European nations.
Oh
wait, I'm Arab.
Yeah, right. So if we want to be a little more specific, right? Arab is telling me something about the merchants. If we want to really nail on the head, what's the what is our the antecedent? Merchants, yeah. So there it is, nail on the head, right? Then it's still a good answer, but still just a little narrow. So what about it? Yeah, I mean, seriously ask yourself the question, what made them fabulously wealthy, right? Spice trade, right? Okay. What about number 3? Who's the they we're talking about?
Europeans.
Yeah, who didn't have access to the Eastern markets, so those Europeans, right? Okay, how about the next one? Who are we referring to with the it's? Nutmeg, right? Any questions? Have y'all following along? Is this crystal? Okay. let's just do the last one for good measure. I mean, my reaction is that you're getting this pretty easily, and I hope you are, but if you're not, I mean, it's, in this school too. Who's it's, who are we talking about here?
Portugal, Spain. Portugal, Spain.
Portugal or Spain, right? You got a double here. Okay, good, well done. Let's run through this one too. This is a short chapter, so again, this is gonna be sort of the nuts and bolts of this one. What can we do with this one? In 2009, filmmaker Robert Kenner introduced documentary, Food Inc. at various festivals, introduced, yeah, is pronoun, first to Robert. What about number 2? Documentary examined the food production industry and its conclusions. Good. Okay, about number 3. Most American farmers sell to big business and must follow. They, yeah, you got the plural, yep. For example, Karen Thomas buys seeds from a large company and Karen Thomas. She, right, okay. The company tells Karen how much acreage of seeds to plant and the company tells Karen how much acreage of seeds to plant and what's our antecedent? The company, and is that a he, she, they?
That's a they.
Well, it's one company. The company tells Karen how much acreage of seeds to plant, and it also sells Karen the pesticides. So if it would have been the companies, also then we'd be having the they, okay? According to the documentary, corporate farming policies not only harm the environment, but corporate farming practices not only harm the environment, but it also lead to mistreatment of farm animals. She also leads, he also lead, they also lead. Sort of like part of your hint is with the, you know, if you want to back into this, you know, does he lead? Well, it could be he also lead, but they also lead, because we got corporate farming practices. We got more than one practice.
How come in that sentence, it's a it, in the sentence, the last one we did, the company was a it instead of a they?
The company is a singular, so the company tells Karen and it sells. So if you want to sort of cut out some of the clutter here. But then with this one, you know, we're talking about corporate farming practices, so we got more than one of them. So they were going to say, according to the documentary, a corporate farming practice not only harms the environment, then you'd have the it, but it also leads to mistreatment of farm animals. So it's really just our plural or singular agreement. Make sense? Okay. So, yeah, okay, well, you know, then the indefinites, I mean, they're not telling you much about anything. And this is one of these things where, for clear writing, you really don't want to use these if you can avoid them. So another, anybody, but I guess if you don't know, you know, if you don't know who broke into your car, right, you say, well, somebody broke into my car, you know, so sometimes you've got to do it. We've all heard these, we sort of, you know, kind of guess what they mean, because you're not being specific, you know, by saying nobody, no one, somebody, everybody, whatever, right? And then of course you got the plurals that say, that still, they're ambiguous. So when you don't know, you gotta use them, but try to avoid them just as a general rule. So, singular pronouns, I mean, say what I think is obvious, you know, you wanna use singular pronouns, so everyone wonders, you know, if he or she should eat better. No one wants to reduce his or her quality of life, so we got our singular. Plural pronouns, our town has economic problems and several of them are difficult to overcome. Because here we got several, more than one, obviously. Same thing with many must sell, wouldn't be many must sells, right? So we're just using the, you know, plural subject verb agreement, in a way, or pronoun verb agreement. Yeah, and of course, we're always gonna get exceptions. You know, many food inspectors came to the conference, all were experts, you wouldn't say all is, you know, there's some of these things where, again, trying to teach this stuff, sometimes it's hard to do, because you can talk about rules and grammar and all that kind of stuff and conclusions you can reach. But I think really, and I say this to all my classes, is that you know, the more you read, the more you see this stuff, and when I say read things from, you know, well-written journals, magazines, newspapers, whatever, you know, and things that you publications that you expect to have correct grammar, and this stuff is just going to be pretty obvious the more you see it. And all of a sudden, when you see an exception or something done wrong, it's going to stick out at you. Okay. So how about practice 3? Page 1. So this is the kind of thing you could expect to see on a quiz. You're going to have the choice, choose his or her or their. So what do we think about the first one? What do we got, his or her or their?
There.
Almost everyone has eaten. Almost everyone. So, well, going back to one of the examples I just read, is everyone a singular or is everyone a plural? This is going to be a little confusing. So if I were going to bring this down, would I say everyone is good or everyone are good? Everyone is good, everyone are good. What sounds better? Or everyone eats dinner or everyone eat dinner? Right? Eats, and eats is being the singular part of the verb, right? As opposed to eat. Right. So now thinking about what would be the correct one? Is he, his or her, or their? His or her? It could be either one, right? Everyone's eating his lunch or his or her lunch, because it's singular. So that would be the right way to go. Okay. The fast food is not only in modern American font. Okay, every culture has his or her, its or their. What do you think? Every culture has its. So we couldn't say his or her, right? Because culture isn't a he or she, right? So now all of a sudden we were down to 2. So every culture has their own or its own. So think about, I double click a word, has, is that the singular or is that the plural? Little n. Every culture has or every culture have. So that's sort of the trick to figuring this out. So every culture is good, every culture are good. What sounds better? Every culture is good, every culture are good. How about what I would try this differently? What if I said, all cultures is good or all cultures are good? So is culture singular or plural?
Plural.
Culture?
No,
Culture. Is it cultures? I just say culture,
I mean,
so you can have more than one.
I mean,
So I have a culture, you have a culture, but we all have different cultures, right? So all of a sudden, even though it's referring to a lot of people, right? It's a singular item, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, it's not.
so what do we got then? It's not his or hers, it could be its or their. If it's singular, right? You're talking about a one thing. So if you're talking about a one thing, like the dog wags its tail or the dog wags their tail. It's, right? So we have one culture, and their obviously being the plural. So every culture has its. So there we go. Okay. So how about this one? In China, no one can resist buying his or her or their dumplings while cycling by the food vendors. Any other thoughts? In China, no one can resist buying his or her dumplings. Anyone, So,
I submitted the narrative paragraph and the
okay,
in-class narration paragraph assignment, but still no grades.
no grades, right, I owe you a lot of grades, but let's try not to digress. So, I mean, how do we, is no one singular or is no one plural? So, it's singular, so if it's singular, is it his or her or is it their?
There.
A singular now. So their refers to a lot of people. So like I would say their dogs, right? They're, I'm not meaning they are, but like, so that's okay. So the answer to this one is his or her. No one can. Like, and if it's getting confusing, like no one, maybe you think that's more than one person, more than one thing, because it kind of is, it sort of implies that it is, but it's a singular. If I want to say no one is good or no one are good, right? And you sort of try to bring this down, which one sounds better? No one is good is the way to do it. Not no one are good. Okay, so well, let's do a couple more of these. There's a little uncertainty. Fast food is popular with North Americans, okay, McDonald's, and its competitors or their competitors.
It's
Singular, yeah. You'd say McDonald's is a good restaurant or McDonald's are a good restaurant, right? It's, right, because it's a singular. Let's see, presently healthcare workers and, what do we got here? Healthcare workers and his or her government, its government, their government. Anyone else? Anyone think anything else? Healthcare workers and their government colleagues, right? Because workers, plural, right? That's our connection. Okay, are people getting this as kind of, yes or no? Sort of, kind of, okay, let's do a couple more. Let's see, healthcare workers know that fast food is very popular and believe that its or their. Fast food is very popular. Healthcare workers know that fast food is very popular and believe that its reliance or their reliance. And what's our antecedent? Yeah, that's what it's trying to fool you. Healthcare workers know that fast food is very popular and believe that its reliance. So the its or their reliance, what does that fall back onto?
Fast food.
Fast food, right. So fast food is a singular or plural, even though food is a plural, right? Or it sounds like a plural.
Singular.
Yeah, so it's singular. Fast food is popular and believe that its reliance. Okay. However, critics do not think so that's the all here. There will be all practice sets on this, so run through those and sort of get the feel for what our antecedent is, whether or not the antecedent is singular or plural. Okay. Let's see. How much time have I just used? It's a little. Okay. Let's try some more practice sets here. Again, see, we can sort of back into it without having to go through the detail. So we got vague pronouns, and again, vague tells you nothing about it, right? So what we want you to do here is correct 8 vague pronoun or repeated subject errors. So what do we got here? Is it vague or is it repeated? So when I say something like vegetarians, they do not eat meat, fish, or poultry. Yeah, it's repeated. What's repeated? What can we get rid of? Yeah, so that'd be how we would correct this one. I don't know if anyone does this in the writing. I mean, it sounds so awful, but I guess some people do it unless it was like a typo. So how about this one? For ovo-vegetarians, it includes eating eggs, but not dairy, and lacto-vegetarians eat dairy but not eggs. That's a handful. mouthful. Pardon the pun. What, if you read this, what word, apart from, you know, what word is vague in this? What's our vague word here? Hmm? Well, I mean, dairy, you know, you go to the dairy aisle, you know, you kind of know what you're getting. For vegetarians, it includes eating eggs but not dairy. Just leave it at that, forget about the rest of the sentence. Yeah, what is it? You know, what's it telling us? So, how might we correct this? We kind of have to back into this one. You know, what is the it? What are they talking about? What includes eating eggs? If I were to say that, all of a sudden, you know, I focused on the vague word. You know, what is it? What is it? What includes eating eggs but not dairy? Their diet. I mean, that's kind of, you know, where we're going with this one. So that's the vague word. And always trying to write. Don't try not to use vague words. I mean, period. You can always just throw something in. It's going to, you know, inform your reader. So how about number 3? They say that vegans should ensure they eat enough protein. What is it? We got a repeat or we got a vagary here? Both. So when I said the other one, like when you're trying to find the vagary, you could also ask who. So who say that vegans should ensure they eat enough protein? Who might say that?
The Surgeon General?
There you go, that's a good example. I don't know if you said that, but that would be a good example, like a medical professional, a nutritionist, a doctor, right? Doctors say, maybe fill it in that way, make it specific. There's protein in peas, beans, nuts, and dairy products. Tofu is another source of this. So what we got here in sort of, where's our vagary? Tofu is another source of this.
Protein.
There's protein in peas, nuts, and dairy products. So it sounds like a pretty good sentence in this, you know, statement of fact. So focus on the next one, and again, this is a little tricky in that they're leading you a little bit. So if you're just to read in and of itself, tofu is another source of this. Where's our vagary? I said tofu is another source of this. And we had no, without using the first sentence. What don't you know? Tofu is another source of this.
What this is?
Yeah, what is this? I mean, what are they talking about? So how can we fix this now that we know something about what they're talking about?
Change this to protein?
Yeah, the protein, yeah. There are other sort of, you know, subjects, nouns you can come up with, you know. Tofu is another source of, I don't know what, I can't think offhand what's another source of.
Gross.
Yeah. Does this make sense? I mean, vagaries. So if I gave you vagaries on a quiz, you know, hey, this doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to give you like the 2-sentence thing like they just did here. That was weird. Okay. I didn't know the screen was touch sensitive. So I just say, you know, something like tofu is another source of this. You know, it's like, okay, but what? How do you fix this? You know, what's the big word? How do we fix it? All right, move along. Let's see. How much more of this do we have? Okay. Well, let's move along. I'm going to skip a couple of these. Possessives. Let's see if we can just run into some of these things. So, Wycliffe Brown has been a farmer since his, her, their father retired. Kind of just did this. There's a lot of repetition in this book. Which one makes the most sense? Is her there? So. There we go, his. I put this out as like an incentive when we're doing these, because a lot of people are quiet and what's going on about where your thoughts may be if they're not with me, or if you're not really sure what's going on. But the incentive is, the faster we get through this, the faster everybody can leave, right? So let me put a little try to incent you to speak up. Okay. How about this second one here? Michelle also grows organic herbs on hers plot of land.
On her.
Michelle grows organic herbs on her own plot of land. Yep. How about the next one? The herd of sheep is also theirs. Commonly confused words.
Theirs.
The herd of sheep is also, which, yeah, theirs, yeah. Belongs to them. Obviously, it wouldn't be they are, okay, please, don't fall into that trap, I know it sounds the same. So the farm is quite successful, but what do we got here? Farm is quite successful, but which one again?
They are.
They are, like they, why would you go in that direction?
Not sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not reading the wrong one. The farm is quite successful, but, right, they are worried, right, okay. You're correct. They're worried about what? They are theirs. Which one? Their competitors, yeah. Okay. I don't know why this book is saying there's problems with this. You got comparisons. Let's run through some of these too. All right. So we're gonna go in this direction. My friend likes his course more than me, or I do. Let's see what we should do here. See if it's correct. So Sanjay and me are in the same economics class. Does that sound right to you? Anybody? What should it be? Yeah. So why would you think that, or how would you know that if you're going to try to, try to do it correctly? What might be the tool to know the correction here? Say it again?
Grammar.
Yeah, okay, but what if we were breaking this up? Why, you wouldn't say me are, right, or me is. That's kind of where you want to go with this. So you would say Sanjay and I, because you are two people, plural, using are, right? So that's really how it is. You would never say me is or me are. Him and I have to write a paper on the Green Revolution in the 1960s. So based on what I just said, what's wrong with this sentence? Which one? Yeah, but which one word is the one that needs to be fixed? No, actually, I is fine. So I'll give it away. Him. You wouldn't say him have to write a paper, or him has to write a paper, right? Be he. He has to write the paper. So that's where you got you're gonna figure out which one's wrong. So, so how about this one, Professor? I'm not gonna do this one because it's correct. My professor told we students that the Green Revolution increased agricultural productivity.
We.
Yeah, how would you fix it? Yeah. To what? You changed the we to
Us.
us, yeah. So how would you know that that's wrong? Some people actually talk like that, right? You told we students, right? But why wouldn't you use the we? You say like we are, right? Because it's the pronoun. You don't want to use that. Okay. How about number 5? Sanjay told my friend Gail and I that the Green Revolution also had negative effects. Which one sounds wrong? Sanjay told my friend Gail and I, or would it be Gail and me? Yeah, see, that's because you know, you want to use the I if you've got a verb coming after it, like I am, but it's me here. So that's one way to try to remember this.
Wait, use it when?
Hmm?
You said use it when?
Well, if the pronoun I, if that's going to be used to say something what you're doing, you know, then that would be followed by a verb. Like in this one, him and I, number 2, him and I have to write a paper. You know, him doesn't fit, right? So you say he and I have to write the paper, right? You wouldn't say, my professor talked to me and he, right? My professor talked to me, or my professor talked to me and him. You wouldn't say him writes the book or him studies, you know, because I don't know if I'm explaining this well. I mean, so I see a lot of puzzled faces. And people talk this way all the time. People write this way all the time. You know, this is Gail and I. People do that all the time. It's Gail and me, because you're the object. You're not like the doer here. You're not creating the action. So when we flip this one around, you could say, would you say Sanjay and I talk to my friend Gail, or would you say Sanjay and me talk to my friend Gail? Sanjay and me or Sanjay and I? Sanjay and I, because I'm talking to you, right? It's not me talking to you. So me is being talked to, right? So Sanjay and I talk to him. Wouldn't say Sanjay and I talk to he. Does that make sense a little more, maybe? You talk to him and you talk to he. Him didn't talk to me, he talked to me. Make sense? I mean, you know, you get a little practice, maybe this will help. Okay. I mean, him and his wife could not afford to buy seeds. How'd you fix that one? What looks wrong?
Him?
Yeah, what's wrong with him?
Just read he's?
Yeah, he. Yeah, you would say him could not afford to buy seeds. You know, if you want to break this stuff up, sometimes maybe that's a way to figure it out. You know, chop it up into pieces. Him could not afford to buy seeds, and that sounds real caveman, right? Him could not afford to buy seeds. He could not afford to buy seeds. He and his wife. Okay. Or you also wouldn't say he and her could not afford to buy seeds, right? Her all of a sudden is, you know, it's where it's broken. He and her, and she. You wouldn't say her decided to buy seeds, or her could not buy seeds.
You say they?
Yeah, you could say they. That would fit. Yeah, but for the sake of the example, you know, we have 2 people, and you know how we're referring, right? Okay. So also, poor farmers could not afford to buy expensive farm machinery. So them and their families suffered. What's wrong with this one? What's wrong with that one? So them suffered. Them suffered really bad, right? Them lost the game. Say again? Them's good eating, right?
Good morning.
I mean, you know, but you know, you hear people talk this way, we're just trying to iron some of the wrinkles out, but yeah, so you wouldn't say them suffered, so they and their family suffered, right? They suffered, not them suffered, when break it up. Okay. Well, I hope this is getting through. You have a lot of sort of fun making up words, like phrases, but, you know, especially because people always say, you know, they always get the me and the I, they've always done. Yeah, you wouldn't say this is I, right? This is me. So, let's skip this one. Yeah, and this is another, you know, this is a sore spot, because I think everybody gets these wrong, sooner or later, once in a while, whatever. I mean, whom and who, who's, you know, the chef, well, who and whom, you know, or whomever, they always refer to people. Who is the subject and whom is the object? So just sort of following on the heels of what we just did, like he is the subject, him is the object, who and whom, kind of the same way. So the chef who specializes is speaking, so, or the restaurant critic whom you met is his sister. So who specializes? So if you want to try to, you know, sort of boil this down, you know, who specializes? You wouldn't say the chef whom specializes, right? Who are you? Not whom are you, right? And then we're talking about the object, whom you met. And people do this all the time. The critic who you met, wrong. Critic whom you met, right? So let's see. Yeah, these are good ones. Let's do a few of these. People who are concerned or people whom are concerned. Based on what I just said, what's the right answer? Who or whom? I got a who, anyone got a whom? So if I was gonna ask you, who are concerned about this problem? Or would say, whom are concerned? Who or whom? Who are concerned? That's the who, you got it right. They can influence economic policy by buying food products. Who or that promotes social equity? Those are kind of too easy. What is the antecedent? What is the who or the that referring to? Food products who promote or food products that promote? Is a food product a who? Is it a somebody? No, it's a that. Okay. How about the next one? Xi Jinping and his wife are consumers for who equitable trade is an important issue, or for whom equitable trade is an important issue? About a whom? Anyone else? You got the right answer. We're not hearing any debate, any dialogue. It's for whom? Because they're not doing anything, right? They're the object. They're the, you know, the sort of the recipient of this. Like the things other food activists who believe or whom believe. What sounds right? Who believes in ghosts or whom believes in ghosts? Yeah, but what if I just ask you that? I mean, whom believes in ghosts or who believes in ghosts? I would ask the class, who believes in ghosts? Or would I say, whom believes in ghosts? Who, right? So it's a who is, like, you know, it's the pronoun. So who is, who are you, you know, who cares? You can say who cares, right? It's who, right? Let's see, let's do, how about Hugo Ritchie, who company sells fair trade products, or whose company sells fair trade products? Who or whose?
Whose?
Yeah, whose, belongs to somebody, right? Yeah. You don't say who company, right, because you need who are, you need the verb with the who. So I was trying to just figure it that way. You know, who gets the verb or have the verb, whom does not. Okay, so I'm gonna try to move on. think the next one's chapter 15. Um, This one's, actually, I'm not gonna do that one, I'm gonna go to 17 and 18. These are more important, and I think they eclipse what is in chapter 15. So in chapter 15 deals with complex sentences, and as you can imagine, a complex sentence is like more than one sentence in the same sentence. And the fragments and run-ons, they tend to deal with the same topics, well, especially the run-ons, because it is all about how to fix a run-on sentence. But I'm going to start with the fragments, and let me throw this out one. Does anyone know what a fragment is? Sentence fragment? Yeah, how is it incomplete? Three ways it can be incomplete. A what? No. What does a sentence need to do to be a sentence? These three, I might actually put this on the quiz. It has to have, what are the three things that make a sentence a sentence? Right? It's got a what? It needs a verb, okay, that's one. Yeah, a subject, pronoun would work, but you gotta have a subject, you gotta have a verb, and what else? It's got to express a complete thought. So I can say, I care about you, right? You got a subject, I got a verb. Or I could just say, I care. Subject and verb, good sentence, right? What if I threw a little a monkey wrench into this? Because I care. What? Because I care what? It doesn't express a complete thought. That could be answering a question. She said, why are you up here teaching? I can say, because I care. But that's how we're speaking. But in terms of writing, if you just wrote a sentence saying, because I care, you don't have a complete thought. Or after class today, got a subject, got a verb, but what? It leaves you hanging. So that's the three things that needs a subject, needs a verb, needs a complete thought. So I'm going to say, after class today, I'm going to go hit golf balls. There we go, complete sentence. I just told you what I'm going to do after class today. It's not raining, so. Okay, so let's jump in. And I've always talked about these two things as being like the evil twins in writing, because everybody, just about everybody does these things, and with just a little care, a little proofreading, you'll get these out of the mix as you're writing. Because of people make spelling mistakes all the time. I get it. People make simple punctuation mistakes all the time. But if you're writing, if you have a fragment, that's like it's just like a clam. It just drops dead. As you can see with something like this, we'll do some examples. But like I was saying before, he was a famous Russian chemist. Period. Good sentence. Because he created the periodic table of elements. Now I see this very often in writings that I get, because somebody's saying something like, I lost my train of thought. When people are talking, especially when people are talking about making the case for what skill sets might be necessary in their career, or plumbing is a great profession to be into, period, because you can make a lot of money. Okay, so it's like, you give me two sentences, one is good, about plumbing is a good profession, but then again, because you make a lot of money, it's your incomplete thought. So how do you fix that? You could say something like, you just get rid of the period, right? And so if they wanted to fix this, he was a famous Russian chemist because he created the periodic table of elements. All of a sudden, you no longer have a fragment with this underlined sentence here, and you just told me why. It all flows together. Makes your writing a lot stronger. So that's, I'm gonna make that jump with it. No subject, no verb; those are automatics. You're gonna know right away. Well, we got 5 fragments in this mix. Let's see if we can figure them out. George Washington Carver was a Renaissance man. Is that a sentence? or acid test, does it have a subject, does it have a verb, does it express a complete thought?
Yes.
George Washington Carver, subject was, yes, the resident command. Good sentence, right? I like that sentence a lot because it's simple. You know, you got your subject, verb, and your sort of conclusion. Because of his many talents, he was often called the Black Da Vinci. How's that as a sentence?
I don't like it.
Don't like it? What don't you like about it?
I would say he was called the Black Da Vinci because of his many talents.
I like that answer. But is it a complete sentence in and of itself? The answer is yes. I mean, if they've had a period here, because of his many talents, what? Okay, they just told you what. Because of his many talents, he's often called the Black Da Vinci. But in terms of writing, why I said I liked your answer, because if I were writing this, or if you want to improve your writing, don't invert the sentence. So you could always say he was often called the Black Da Vinci because of his many talents. It's linear, and it flows, it leads you to that conclusion. So after Leonardo da Vinci, thumbs up, thumbs down.
That's it.
After Leonardo da Vinci,
That's not it.
that's awful, yeah, isn't it? And even if you added a verb, it wouldn't make it, would still be a bad sentence. If you said after Leonardo da Vinci was born, what, right? You have the incomplete thought. So it's like a two-way loser here. So let's see, he was born in Missouri, that's okay. Obviously in 1964 is not. How about this one, at Iowa Agricultural College?
That's not a sentence.
Yeah, tells you nothing, no verb. Okay.
The one before that isn't a sentence either, is it? Eventually accepted.
He was eventually accepted. I mean, subject, verb is a complete thought. He was eventually accepted. I mean, you can tell me a little bit more about that, but I think in and of itself, it's fine. He was eventually accepted. Okay. I'm gonna move on. I'm afraid we're starting to run short on time. And again, I'm not gonna quiz you on what's an explanatory fragment, and things like that. I just wanna have clean English at the end of the day. So, so we got 5 explanatory fragments, in this mix. Let's see if we can find them. Hazardous wastes are dangerous for people's safety and very harmful for the environment. Does that, look good or bad or ugly?
That's a sentence.
Hazardous wastes are dangerous for people's safety and very harmful for the environment. Yeah. For instance, the automobiles, I'm going to skip the next one's a good sentence too. For instance, the automobile industry, dry cleaning stores, oil refineries, and chemical manufacturing. What do you think about that one?
That's not a sentence.
Yeah, what's missing?
It doesn't tell why that any of that is harmful for people's safety or the environment.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything. But if you boil it down to, there's no verb. But then again, it's still, even if you just added a verb, it wouldn't, I don't think it wouldn't express a complete thought.
What's today's lesson about?
This. And,
Do you know the name of it?
these are sentence fragments.
Sentence fragments. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have an assignment for it?
Not yet. We may not. I may just sort of skip in class because I want to roll out a whole lot of things for y'all to practice over the course of the week. That's going to be right on this. So it'll sort of be like a post-class assignment to prepare for the test. Okay. Where else? Where was I now? Okay. How about this last sentence here? Last sentence in this one. Especially computers, entertainment gadgets, mobile phones, and so on.
That's not a sentence.
Yeah. Same as just like the other one you brought up. It doesn't have a verb and it doesn't tell you anything. Especially computers are what? Drives you crazy. What about them? And so on. Okay. I'm sort of picking up that this is making sense to you. I mean, subject, verb, complete thought. Whenever you're writing, make sure you've got a subject, make sure you've got a verb, and you're expressing a complete thought. And that doesn't mean a subject and verb alone cannot express a complete thought, because they can. But it's just often when you come up with these introductory words like, after I came to class, it leaves you hanging. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, again, they go back to these dependent clause fragments, but these are things that, again, I've been saying over and over again. So the dependent clause, it needs something to complete it. So, after I came to class, that's my dependent clause because it doesn't tell me what. The independent clause, after I came to class, I graded papers. So I graded papers is my independent clause because it stands by itself. The dependent is always going to come up with one of these words. And just insofar as sort of like the punctuation around it, when you introduce a sentence like, introductory words and phrases, when you introduce something with one of these dependent clauses, they get the comma. So after I came to school, comma, I graded papers, right? That kind of thing. So sometimes it may help to, read it out loud, read it quietly yourself, if that makes sense. Bless you. And then we just talked about fixing. Like I just said, you can add the comma after the introductory word or phrase or what have you. Yeah, join the sentences. She had a successful professional life, although her personal life was quite a scandal. Let's see. Again, as you pointed out in the back, the better way to write a sentence, is not to come up with the introduction, but like they do here. Many chemical reactions are familiar, excuse me, because they happen in everyday situations. Connect the sentence, or you can have the comma if you want to invert it. Let's see, we've got 20 minutes. Okay. I feel fairly confident everybody's getting this, and there will be practice sets. Just remember subject, verb, complete thought, and how to fix it, especially if you're proofreading your own writing. Try to merge the sentences, put commas, create two sentences, if you need to. That's more relevant with the run-ons, which I'm going to go to next. So run-ons, this is like, I'm going to talk, eventually these things be like evil twins. This is, the fragments are one of the twins, this is the other one. It's kind of like, the opposite, the yin yang, or whatever you might want to call it. And this is one of those things where, even if you haven't written a technical run-on sentence, try to avoid writing any sentence that goes more than a line and a half, because you think about risk, right? The longer the sentence, the more risk there is about there being something wrong with it, right? So anytime you can, keep the sentences simple, right? I love simple sentences. They're very easy to read, they flow nicely, they're typically going to be devoid of grammatical errors. And one time, professionally, years and years ago, I like to write long sentences, and I was writing a sentence on some policy matter, with the government stuff that was fairly complicated to begin with. And I wrote a really long sentence to explain it. And my really long sentence was grammatically correct, it was technically correct on point, and I thought I was going to impress the boss by, my wordsmithing and expertise and all that. And I hate this because it was so hard to read, right? So it's one more reason not to write these long sentences. They're hard to read, you're going to lose the reader. I can't stand reading stuff now that is really, really long. There's one historian I like. He's great. He's really smart. But his sentences are a mile long. I don't read his books anymore because it's like, you get to the end of the sentence, like where do you start? And I got to go back and reread the sentence. He's wasting my time. I'll read somebody else. But anyway, so what is a run-on sentence? Now that
It's a sentence, it could be like 2 or 3 sentences.
Yeah. But that's not inherently wrong. So, this is my eloquent prose, it had lots of sentences in it, but it was all punctuated correctly, and I guess that's sort of where I'm going with this. The run-on is where you're not punctuated correctly, so, they give some good examples here. They talk about this, I mean, you know, and again, I'm not gonna quiz you on what is a fused sentence, what's,
So it's, so if you keep going, then it's.
yeah, I don't, you know, there's gotta be something like one of those Guinness Book of World Records is what's the longest grammatically complete sentence. It's probably, you know, gonna go a page or longer. It would be a devil to read, but I guess technically it's not a run-on because it's grammatically correct. And that's really what's the difference between a run-on and not a run-on. So, and there are ways to fix this. So you do have multiple sentences within a run-on sentence has to have multiple sentences within it, but it's not technically a run-on sentence because it has multiple sentences in it. If that makes sense. So you want to look at something like this one. You know, they talk about this, the fused sentence, and these are things I don't see a whole lot of. So you say geologists learn about the origins of the earth, they study rocks. So I've got two sentences here, right? I mean, geologists learn about the origins of the earth, period, they study rocks. That's one pure for it. You know, give me two sentences. So they correct this, and you know, this is what they call, you know, using the apostrophe to connect. And I just want to put it out there, I can't stand this, the apostrophe. It's grammatically correct, but I don't like it. I would encourage you not to use it. I won't mark down if you use it correctly, but I don't like it. So you can fix it by putting the apostrophe here, because these two sentences are pretty closely connected. So, and what I mean by that is, you know, we're talking about geologists. They are the geologists, they study rocks, okay, whatever. But if I said something like geologists learn about the origins of the earth, they like to go to baseball games, okay? That's two sentences that don't really connect, right? I could put a period in there, you know, the geologists learn about the origins of the earth, period. They go to lots of baseball games, so I have two complete sentences. They're not run-ons, although, you know, kind of awkward the way you juxtapose the sentences together. But this is the case where you could not use the comma splice because they're not connected. So in this case, in the example in the book, they are connected because they study rocks. When I talk about going to baseball games, they wouldn't be connected. And that's one more reason why I say don't use the apostrophe, because just putting the period in there removes any doubt in anyone's mind about whether or not you know, they're connected or not. So anyhow, you could also fix this by saying something like geologists learn about the origins of the earth, comma, and they study rocks. So notice I put the comma, as I'm talking, I have the comma, and they study rocks. That would make it a grammatically correct sentence. If I just said, and they study rocks, no good. That's just as bad as not having anything in between as they do here. So here's the other big no-no that people do all the time. You know, Mount St. Helens is an active volcano. It erupted on May 18th, 1980. We got two sentences here, but you're connecting them with the comma. See, they call it the comma splice. Don't do it. People do it all the time because they think they have a pause. So create two sentences as they've done here. That's, again, that is like the gold standard way to avoid run-ons. Make two sentences. Excuse me. But there are other ways you could do it. You know, if you wanted to say and, but you have also, we'll work through some connectors, the ands, the buts, the what have you. And yeah, again, how can you write this better? Mount St. Helens is an active volcano that erupted violently on May 18th. I think that's even a better way to say it, right? You're getting rid of that second sentence. So anyway, all about improvements. Let's see. Well, here we talked a little bit about, you know, how to correct, and this is the biggest key, I think, takeaway from all this. So when you do write the long sentences, assuming you have, you know, put in the period. Like I said, that's the gold standard. Break them up, simple sentences. You know, some volcanoes erupt violently, others erupt very slowly. That's okay. Two complete sentences. You got the subordinated conjunction, like I had with like the because, you know. Here they're using whereas as that subordinated conjunction. Some volcanoes are up violently, whereas others are up slowly. And notice the comma here. So if I wanted to invert this sentence, I would say, whereas some volcanoes erupt violently, comma, others erupt very slowly. So that's sort of the inversion, kind of like we were in the dependent clause, independent clause thing we were talking about in the last chapter. Excuse me, here. Now here we got the and, for, but, nor, but, or, no, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. And this is a very, very common mistake. As I mentioned a second ago, is that if I were going to put an and in between the two, I need the comma, right? Some volcanoes erupt violently and others erupt slowly. So that would be the correct sentence. But if I said some violently and others erupt slowly without the comma, all of a sudden that's a runoff. And it's just one of these grammatical things. I don't make the rules, but that's what it is. So just be mindful. One of these 6, 7 words, you're going to need the comma. So if you got an or connecting 2 sentences, the comma, the and, put in the comma. Easy to forget. This example, some volcanoes erupt violently, but others erupt slowly. All right, so let's some of these. Actually, that's the kind of thing where I'd almost rather do is well, okay, this is going to be, I think, a little better. Let's do the final review. This will sort of be the end of this, and I think we'll do this. So final review. There are 10 run-on sentence errors here. Use a variety of correction methods. So diamonds have been a symbol of love and glamour. They have also become a symbol of violence and exploitation. How do we fix this? How do we fix this? Diamonds have been a symbol of love and glamour. They have also become a symbol of violence and exploitation.
Put an and in there, a comma and an and.
Yeah. Diamonds have been a symbol of love and glamour, comma, right? And they've also become a symbol of violence and exploitation. Way to do this. What's another word for this? Because remedies would work. Yeah, but when you have let's move on from the conjunction another way. Standard, what I just said. So what did I say? Standard in fixing a run-on. Key is the takeaway. 2 sentences. Diamonds have been a symbol of period. They have also become a symbol of violation. You could also, right where I put the period, that would work in this case. As much as I said I don't like that approach accurately. So whatever's the best way to do it.
We don't know what those are.
what's the no-no about? Fix- Want to use conjunction, right? Do this. They're used to perpetuate wars, comma, and they are used to perpetuate, to finance the wars.